And we're live.
And we are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's Help Me Rhonda show. This is where we talk about creating sexy brands and turning them into profit-making machines. I'm your hostess of the Mostess, Rhonda Swan. I'm also the CEO of the Unstoppable Branding Agency and the Sexy Brand Building Formula programs, where we work with entrepreneurs, help them take their story, take what their essence is and truly bring it into their brand. And I bring on guests and interviews of really amazing brands that have great stories. And today is a very special episode.
Yes, it is.
Because I have a very special guest. My guest today is
Hanalei Swan.
Hanalei Swan.
So, hi, my name is Hanalei Swan. I'm the creator of HS Styles, a socially conscious fashion brand, and Unstoppable Kids, the inspirational kids movement. I'm a fashion designer, artist, author, and international speaker, and I am going to change the world.
Boom! All right. Well, I love that. Obviously, you know anything about the work that I do. She's well practiced, right? But it's so cool. All right. So this was Hanalei. Obviously, I'm your mom. But are you open to us really digging in and asking a lot of questions about you building your business, that experience of you traveling? There's a lot of people that want to know, and I'm excited to really share this. So you introduce yourself. You're a fashion designer, right?
Yeah, I create clothing for incredible women who want to feel empowered and who want to feel different and stand out. And so, I'm super excited to talk a little more about this, and you've especially helped me out. You're my mom. You've helped me with almost everything by being able to build my brand. You not knowing anything about fashion, me only knowing the creative side, and us working together. And so I'm super excited to talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so for those of you guys who are here and you're watching the live stream, awesome. I'm going to be taking questions. We've got a lot of questions from people in advance. If you're obviously watching the podcast, make sure you join us live. We come here every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I film all of these shows live. Please, again, those of you that know someone that either a conscious family or that wants to learn more about this story, share this, please, with everyone, because the more, I think you're going to be blown away, actually. You're going to be blown away with what we're going to talk about today. And this is kind of the first time that we've really had a real open conversation other than people just watching what our family has done. So I'm going to start off with a couple questions that already come in, and I want you to just, be yourself and share, because I think the world deserves to understand how you've grown up. So you've been traveling since you were 1 year old.
Yes.
Right? What do you remember about travel? Is there anything about our traveling experiences that you really remember the most?
Yeah.
So people always said, you're never going to remember. You're taking her around the world. She'll never remember stuff.
So ever since I was 1 year old, you guys have started traveling with me, and I've been to 48 plus countries and 6 continents, soon to be 7. And one thing that I always have remembered about travel is people. In my memory and in my soul, I've always connected with people around the world. When we were leaving America to go travel, people would always say, your kid will never have friends. She'll never have people she can talk to. They'll never be able to speak the same language. And we might not be able to speak the same language, but there was this connection. It was the human connection. You don't have to be the same race. You don't have to speak the same language. But being a human combines us together.
And that's something that you really remembered the most is about the travel piece, is really the people, yeah?
And I really remember being able to hang out and, of course, I'm still a kid, even though I've grown up and even though I have my own fashion brand, I'm still a kid. I remember I would play in the dirt and we would play at the beach and we would
So people say this, so you brought this up, so I want to bring this up because we can have this conversation, is others do ask, so you've got this fashion brand, you're speaking all over the world, are you a kid still? What does that that question mean to you? Like, what do you do as a kid to be a kid?
Literally yesterday, I was just hanging out with my friends and we went to a trampoline park. I'm still a kid. I feel like a kid and age is just a construct. I feel like we're all inside a kid, an adult, an elder, all that type of stuff. We're just being able to label ourselves based on our age.
Mm-hmm.
To be a kid, you don't have to be my age. You can have fun. You can do whatever. Just have fun for the joy of it.
So you're saying that adults really, we lose a lot of that, right?
Yeah, we lose our kid inside of ourselves.
But you every day, you do daily things that keep you as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, like, so why don't let's kind of dive into it. I want to get more into this because that's a big question, right? And yeah, Hanalei's very well spoken, right? She's been on stages since she was 6 weeks old with me on stages and speaking to world leaders recently. Yeah. But would you share, let's start with there. Do you remember the moment that you decided that you were going to be a fashion designer? Do you actually remember that moment?
Yeah. I remember when I was about 7 or 8 years old, mm-hmm. We were on the beach and we were walking and you came up to me and you're like, Hanalei, what do you want to be now? And
yeah.
Of course that caught me off guard because I'm like, wait, what? And we started talking and we really started like, you can do something. And so I feel like I've always loved fashion. Mm. I've always loved creating. Well, actually, I didn't know what fashion was until I finally started looking into it. And so when I got asked, what do I want to be now? It was able to change my perspective on what I could truly be and do now. And it's funny to think about it because permission is such a big thing that we need, but we can never get.
What is that? What do you mean by that, permission, essentially?
We seek permission. We seek the permission of others. We feel like, especially as kids, permission is everything. You have to ask to go to the bathroom.
Right.
You have to ask to get food.
Okay, so you're saying, yeah, I'm gonna interrupt you just because I want to get into this. So you're saying, like, when we asked you, what do you want to be now, instead of, which is the normal question, right? Most kids are hearing, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
You feel that Dad and I, by asking you that, gave you actual permission to choose what you wanted.
Yeah.
Right? And I think because a lot of families, they're expecting kids answer questions because it's what they think that their parents want to hear. Do you think that's true?
I feel like we're always trying to please. We're always trying, as kids, we want to please them. Because we want to be able to have fun. We want to be able to do all these things. And if we're doing something bad, we're not going to be able to get that. And so I feel like we're always trying to say, like, when people ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? We're like, oh, maybe something suitable. Maybe a doctor. That's something that my parents were like.
Right. So you say what the parents think, and in reality, you as a kid, you're like, you have so many ideas.
Yeah, maybe if you don't want to be a doctor and you want to be an astronaut or a dancer or something like that. And some example that I always use is we're all born with a spark. We're all born with that spark inside of us that is able to light up, that shines, and it's our passion. For you, it would be helping people. Branding, do all these things. For me, it's art, it's fashion. And as a kid, that spark is so big since we're able to create, we're able to try new things. But as we grow up, that spark dims.
Why do you think spark dims?
It dims because people are saying, like, oh, you can't do that. You don't have enough money to do that. You're not smart enough. It's saying
it's like not responsible. Like growing up, you start to become too responsible.
Yes, and you're not able to take risks. Yes. You're thinking about how can I please others. Instead, you're not pleasing yourself.
That's big, right? What do you guys think about that? That's a big, really big statement, especially hearing it from a young person, and she gives us perspective all the time. So you remember the moment when we said to you, what do you want to be now? And you're like, whoa, I want to be a fashion designer. Like, I want to be a fashion designer. So can you share more, like, what is actually, like, what became of that? Why did you say a fashion designer? Now what has become the mission of this brand, this company that you've created?
Well, I've fallen in love with fashion, and I've been able to create fashion, but at the same time, I've started to find out the deeper meanings the deeper sides.
Mm.
I remember the specific point when I was traveling. I was revisiting these beautiful beaches and these crystal clear waters. And one day I revisited that place and it was a landfill.
Mm.
And so I've realized traveling and seeing these different places, and like me having my love for fashion and me saying I need to help the earth, I said, why don't I combine this? Why don't I make something together?
Mm.
And so I started finding out about Fast and So Fashion. We actually researched up until midnight, just looking at different things. And it was really sad, and it was really empowering at the same time, because it let me do something incredible. And really what it is fast fashion is the second largest contributor to waste on our planet, next to oil.
That's crazy.
It takes 750 gallons of water to create one single cotton t-shirt. And big companies like H&M, Zara, and Forever 21 are outsourcing to places like Bangladesh, China, and other regions in India to create cheap manufacturing, to use cheap fabrics, and to sell it at a higher price.
Right.
And so I feel like when I started finding out about this, I started seeing the bad in the world. I started seeing the bad, but I wanted to bring
fashion. So like you love fashion, you want to be a fashion designer, and then you realize like, whoa, fashion actually isn't a great industry.
Yeah.
Is that
I wanted to bring the good in fashion. And so I remember we were in London Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And you could really see how people there, all they wanted to do was bring each other down. They wanted to push themselves up. They were fighting to try to gain that spotlight, when really we shouldn't be competing.
Yeah.
Because we're all doing the same industry. We're all working together. We're all doing something similar. Why don't we help each other?
That's a big thing, right? So instead of I want to keep getting these questions because this is really great. If you don't mind me, continuing, because recently we turned down London Fashion Week and going to one of the biggest, commercialist expeditions of fashion, and it came down to you really seeing how the industry was, huh? So can you share with everyone more? So that's really been part of your mission, but let's go back a little bit, because I know everyone asked this, because everyone, may thinking, how did you actually start this company? Like you're now running a 6-figure business. She's got 6 employees. I mean, there's a lot of things that you handle when it comes to the business side. How did you actually start it? Because I think everyone wants to know that. They're like, oh, Dad and I just gave you a bunch of money. Actually, tell the story of how it started.
Well, what happened was you guys asked me, what do I want to be now? And I remember after that conversation, you did give me a bunch of money because I asked for $20. And I got $20 and I started buying this thread, needles, and fabric. And I started stitching by hand these little tiny keychains. And I sold enough to make $100. And that was enough money to make my first prototype. So I started it by investing. I started it by asking for my investors, my parents, and I just started creating. After I started creating that, I found an amazing team that could start making my first prototypes. We sold them. We started making more. And so it was really empowering to see that I was able to build this on my own with the help and support of my family. And so just how I started was creating these little keychains. And you don't have to go big. You don't have to create something that is incredible, is amazing. You don't have to create something that's super expensive. You can just start with these little things. Start selling them to your friends, selling them on the street, just find out how to make that money to start going bigger.
Well, and a lot of it, we talk about this a lot. I mean, obviously with me building brands and working a branding agency, it's part of Hanalei's DNA of understanding what is our biggest word we talk about. It starts with a V when it comes to giving back to people in your brand. Can you think of what that word is?
V.
What's the word?
Value.
Value, right? So the more value we can give others, then they realize, like, wow, if you tell a story behind what you're doing, and that's how it happened, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You weren't just selling stuff.
I was saying, like, hey, this is going to help on my fashion. This is what I'm looking to do in the future. This is my big dream. And so they weren't buying the keychains just for the keychains.
Yeah.
They were buying the message with it. And now one of my big things with fashion is my message. I want to empower women. I want to create eco-friendly fashion. And my message is I give back. So for every item I sell, I give back a school uniform to a child in India. Because the government stops paying for school uniforms at the age of 13, which increases a massive school dropout rate, teenage pregnancy, and child's workload. And so this piece, especially this piece I'm wearing right now, people are not buying this to buy it. It may look nice, but they're not just buying it to buy it. They're buying it because of what value it comes with it, what they're helping. They're not just buying clothing. They are helping a child in India get education.
So let's talk about, this is a major thing, right? So this comes down to all these values. This is something that we've always talked about as we've traveled around the world. Hanalei has always been a minority, right? We've been minorities. We've been living in these places. So that's something we've always instilled in you and in our business, is that we always give back. And that's why part of, why her business has grown. It's not a business grows because, you're a good fashion designer, right? And you do cool stuff, but it's also because of the values that you hold. Now, you're a big activist, and I know this is a big question. People come out and they want to know, why she talked about all these things, and she does the research. So share, how you've been able to take the fashion, your fashion brand and your business, and use it as a platform for, social activists. What are the things you care about the most?
It's because why I speak about these things is also I'm able to use my fashion as a platform. I have something that is talking about my messages. It's talking about eco-friendly fashion. My fashion, I want to be able to create something so people can actually believe, they can actually feel, they can see what value fashion has. And so I use my fashion as a platform to be able to speak about this type of stuff. Because it's funny to think that no one is speaking out about fashion, the fashion industry, plastic, all this type of stuff, because they're too scared. It is coming down to us kids to actually reveal, actually speak, and actually believe in this type of stuff. So we are able to teach adults that are close-minded to actually think about what they wear, think about what they're doing. Kids are the future, and we need to speak up now. And so I believe in helping the earth. I believe in helping the world. And so by being able to, I can't do this alone. So being able to create a team, being able to create a tribe, people around the world, finding and listening to me and being able to share the same message, we can get out even farther. Than I could ever.
And that's the thing, so it's always about sharing your message, right? We've always, encouraged you to speak your voice. That was something that we never took away from Hanalei. It was you have a voice. What do you feel? When we travel, we would always ask you, what do you want to do? Where do you want to travel? How do you feel about this? And I think that's a really big piece, and I think that's a missing gap. Now, you speak, obviously, Hanalei, you speak very wise, okay? You speak very, very wise. But I think that people want to know, and they've asked us a lot, how do you actually relate to normal kids? How do you relate to normal kids? I mean, does that even make sense?
For me, I've always grown up with entrepreneurs. So I've always been at different events. I've been either speaking, listening, and I mainly grown up around adults mainly. And so I've grown up around people who are making a change. So that gave me the power to do something different. If you want to be a change maker, hang around change makers. If you want to be lazy and watch movies all day, hang around people that are lazy and watch movies all day. You are the person who you hang around with.
Right. All right. So the question about, do you relate to other kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
how does that happen? Because there's been times where, maybe you've not been as related and kids are either judgmental. How have you dealt with that?
Well, I feel like I've always related with kids because I am a kid in particular. But I feel like I actually don't really know how to answer this question because I feel like, of course, I've related to kids because I am a kid, but I feel like I've related more with adults because they are doing something different. They have brands and then we talk to them about that type of stuff. But with kids, I want to be able to inspire to do the same. And I want to be able to create this group of kids. We call them the Unstoppable Kids.
And so you are creating that. You've been doing that for a while.
Who are becoming
more mindful.
Yes, and who are thinking about the future and creating a brand where they can do what they love.
I think it's a big thing. I mean, that's obviously something we've always been really encouraging to. And I think it's a question, like people, I think that for Hanalei and for us as a family, we really don't see her as a kid. She just is only been on this earth for 12 years in a physical form. It's really true. We don't relate a kid to an adult any differently. And we've never done that with Hanalei, so she has had her voice. Certainly there are other kids that are just, maybe the maturity level isn't quite there yet, and because they haven't been asked certain questions that she's been asked or given the permission to respond how she wants and thinks. So I think that has been a challenge though for you. In fact, some people have asked about bullying, right? It's a big topic. And, share with what your experience has been, because there was a time when we didn't realize, it was a couple of years ago, all of a sudden you stopped doing video, you stopped doing art, you stopped talking about fashion, and you had just started this fashion journey. And, a couple of years into it, and you stopped doing it. And you were hiding this. And this is important for everyone to know, like, we've dealt with the same issues that others have dealt with. Would you share a bit about what kind of happened and how you handled that?
Yeah, I got bullied in like 5th grade almost, and I feel like every single day when I was walking in, I would have to put on a mask. Since, of course, like traveling, I was always wanted to be in school, so I was always at different grade levels. I was low in one grade and higher in the other, or stuff like that. And I feel like when I was in school, this particular school, I started getting bullied for either not being as smart or doing something different or not being like other kids. And it started to weigh on my self-confidence, thinking, really, am I not smart? Am I stupid? Am I really doing something bad? And so I feel like now I like to speak out about this, because with kids, no one should ever be put through that. Even the people who have hurt me the most, I would never want people to feel like that. And it's also by kids in their backgrounds. Not every kid has the same
upbringing.
Yeah, upbringing as me, and everyone's grown up in a different way. And it's either acting out in family life by not having the best communication. And I feel like every day when I went to school, I would always have to put on a mask. I would always have to say, I would have to laugh at jokes that people said about me. And so
you were dumbing down. I remember you told us that. She was like, you had a breakdown.
Yeah.
And you're like, because we asked, what's going on? You stopped talking about fashion, you stopped doing this. And you literally broke down to us and said that you've been, really judged heavily in school. And this realization though that she had, and we've had to talk about this, that, most people that come from that space, they may not have the support. And I think the people that were bullying you were maybe even didn't have the family support that you have, and that made them feel badly.
Yeah.
Is that how you've been able to understand why people react in certain ways, and how you were able to get through that? Because that was a really tough time. And it's a really big, it was a really big thing. And I think bullying is constant, right? It happens every day. In fact, even adults, we get bullied. We get bullied by people that are trying to force us to do something we don't want to do, or making fun of us. I mean, it's crazy to think now that it's got a name, but we all are dealing with it. And what would you say to, let's say, a child that's watching this that is being bullied? Like, how would you tell them to handle that?
I personally, in my experience, I held it down for a while by not telling anyone and putting on a mask and becoming that person that they were talking about. And so I feel for anyone who's watching this, who's going through that, I would say talk to someone It may feel scary. You may not want to have your baggage put on them, but they can help you lift it up a little more. And so I would definitely say share, talk. Communication is one of the biggest things, especially in our family. Communication has been incredibly big by helping each other go through tough times, by helping each other when we're traveling.
Bless you.
Excuse me. And all that type of stuff. So mainly communication. Speak to other people. Maybe talk to that bully and ask them, why are they doing this?
I remember, because you had to confront. I remember that was a big thing. We said, say things like, look, this is not okay. Remember, like you were telling us when you go to your, on the playground, and there's things that are being said, and to start actually taking a stand. So, friends don't talk to friends this way. This is not okay. And that wasn't easy, was it? And you've had to confront it. And so others asked you about schooling. So Hanalei was in school all the way up until 2.5 years ago in school, since she's, all over traveling. She's been in different environments, so you've been able to adapt quite a bit. But then we decided to take her out of school, and it wasn't because of the bullying. It was actually because of the amount of time that she was being spent in schools. Now, we've got a different philosophy on schooling, right? We believe that, they are naturally driven to really dive into what it is that they want to learn. And how was that for you when you chose to go to homeschool and to get out of school? Like, how did you adapt to that? And what would you say between the schooling side of it and homeschool for you?
I feel like now I'm loving learning, because I feel like school condemns you in a way where it's gone for a broad audience. Every kid is born in a different way. They each have a different like spark, and they have a different passion. And so school is going for just one area when there's a bunch of different kids. And so it makes you hate learning. It makes you learn in a way where you're not feeling happiest. And so when I got out of school and I started doing homeschool, I started loving learning again, because I was able to measure. I was able to do what I love. I was able to learn in a way that was making me happiest, and learn in a way that I was able to grow. And so now every single day I love being able to learn.
What is your process? So what is your process? What do you do every day?
Every day I go to the studio and I check up on the dudes. I either see what's going on, seeing the new prototypes, and after I'll probably grab lunch, come back, and start going to my schoolwork for the next 2 hours or so. And I'll be able to measure, I'll be able to get all my schoolwork done. And then I have my creative time where I'm able to draw. I take classes on Skillshare, learning how to do figure drawing, learning how to have the body types and shapes. And so that's one thing that I'm really excited for, is expanding my drawing. Because fashion may be my platform, may be my business, but drawing is my main thing. Being an artist, being able to express myself creatively. I can't pronounce it right now, but being able to express my artistic way in anything. I could do fashion, but the next day I may want to do sculptures.
Things change. Things change a lot. And you have a mentor. So she does have a mentor that comes 3 times a week. You guys you go deeply into art, because that's one of her biggest, art. And then you do your schoolwork. You do Time for Learning, which is the online school platform that you use. And it sets her up for the year. So she just does her activities. This is the thing. Honestly, she studies more and is into more now that we've taken her out of school than she ever wanted to do in school.
And also in school, I would go there for 6 or 7 hours a day, even more. And I would come back and I wouldn't remember what I learned, because I felt like I tuned out almost. I just wasn't in an interesting way. But now I can study for 2 hours, and I've learned so much more than I could ever have done in those 8 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's just about learning and what you love, and learning what you do. And just by doing a shorter period amount of time, you can expand so much more.
Yeah, so we work on a lot about, really focusing on it's not about the amount of time we spend. It's actually about the how how you're performing in that time, right? It's the effectiveness, the efficiency of your time. You know, I think we're all in jobs, 9-to-5 jobs. Everyone just is used to just putting the time in. You don't have to put that much time in if you're actually spending quality time on things that you really care and love.
And also in jobs, there was a study done that like how the 9-to-5. So from 9-to-5, they only used a quarter of the hours actually being worked on. The rest of it was just them sitting around because they already finished. And so from having 9-to-5, you're just being able to get a period of done. You can get so much done in a short period of time, and that extra time is just sitting around, not knowing what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to get some questions. I want to ask all of you, let's add some questions in the comments. These are some that have come in. How do you keep your confidence in like stressful situations like public speaking and being interviewed? And how does that come?
Personally, it's really hard because I'm an ambivert, so I love being by myself, being an introvert, and I also am a peaceful person. So I want to be by myself, but also be with people. And so with me, I've learned to love public speaking. I used to be super afraid of it, but it's all about taking a chance. And so how I dealt with fear and how I learned to love public speaking is every time I go on stage, I almost have like this little mantra that I like say to myself. I say, I'm Hanalei Swan. I'm the creator of Yrs Styles. You are going to inspire so many people today. You have the power to inspire thousands upon millions of people with your message. Your message is greater than yourself. The people you are going to inspire is going to inspire so many more. If you inspire one person today, your job is done. And I have a couple more. It's a little long, but it's just having all of that. And it's about giving yourself that power. Not saying, oh, I'm going to be so bad. Oh, this is going to be really bad.
The self-talk matters.
Yeah, because you can predict the future. You can make your future.
Your subconscious is the one that's actually, like your voice could be saying something, but your subconscious is the one going, no, I don't believe you, right? So you've got to really, truly be in that belief moment.
Yeah. And so what I do is I just you have to find the passion. You have to be the way how you get the power to speak, to do something. You just have to do it. Yeah. And it gets
in the beginning you were nervous. You got super nervous. Like you recall, I remember the one time you were getting ready to go speak. It was last year, I think, in Vegas. You're following Dr. John DeMartini. You remember that?
Yeah.
And you were nervous, like we had to do our breathing. We did your anchor, right? So there's a lot of little things that you've done to get through that. But I think that I'm still nervous when I go on stage because I care about it so much.
Yeah. If you're not nervous, you don't care about what you're saying. Everyone gets nervous before stage, and it's just being able to find the power inside of yourself. And
yeah, all right. Okay, so now let's ask another question here because it's a big one. It's about some of the business side of it, and this is a really great question. Is what do you think the difference is between being an 11-year-old, like she started her company at 8, but 8 years old when you really started.
No, when I started manufacturing stuff is when I was 9 or 10.
Yeah, okay. So for 2 years, so now she's got running a 6-figure business. She's got 6 employees, and the question came in was, okay, what do you think the difference is between achieving 6 figures, meaning do you know what even 6 figures is?
I know.
$100,000, you've passed $100,000 in sales. Wow. And what's the difference between being 11 or 12 having 6 figures or achieving it as an adult, maybe between 30 and 50 years old? What do you think is the difference? How does it feel for you at 11 as to a 30 to 50-year-old? And why do you think maybe 30s to 50-year-olds feel like it's so out of reach?
Because we set too high of expectations. We, as an adult, we say that we are going to get $1 million in the next month or something super big. But as a kid, especially not knowing how big money actually is and being super excited just earning $5 from a little toy that you made. For me, you should get excited for every dollar you earn. every little thing is contributing to your future. One thing that I love is that Vision, the creator of Mind Valley, what he would do is every day he would see how much food he could buy every day. Just on that amount he made, he would start making 50 cents a day. But then he started making $1. He saw how big of a coffee he could get and how much bigger and bigger. And so that was buying his coffee, that was buying his stuff. And he would get so excited because, like, I have my job, but also I am able to get this extra coffee. I'm able to get this extra thing. And so it's getting excited for everything you earn. It's about gamifying it. By gamifying something, you are making it a challenge. You're making it, how much stuff can I get? What coffee can I get today? And so for me, I feel like what the difference is we're losing the fun of it. It's fun. We should make it a game.
Well, because for you, does it really have to do with you making money when you sell something?
It's not about making money. For me, it's the money comes with it, and I'm able to give back with it. My main thing is I want to be able to inspire. I want to be able to give back. And so personally for me, whenever I make money or something like that, I feel like I got off a little off track.
That's all right. No, it's good because this is, I think the point is that she doesn't have the concept of the money side of it. The fact that she has a flourishing business, and I think that's what happens to kids and adults, and why her business is flourishing is because she just focuses on what she loves, giving back, helping people, talking about it, keep growing. But as adults, we worry about the money, don't we? We were worried about the transaction, what took place. And that's not even something you consider, you even think about, is it?
Yeah.
When people come to your studio, because now she does custom orders, they come to your studio, like, what do you love about it?
I love about working with people. I'm a people's person, so I want to be able to help people. My value and my give back is that joy I see in their eyes when they're so excited to have that piece come, when they're so excited to learn about fashion, because I've been working in it for 2 years and I'm still learning every single day, but I love when I see that joy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the best value I can.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we always told her, we'll take care of the business side. You just keep sharing and growing. And of course, now we discussed this, like, you understand, like what was one of the biggest moments? Like, you made your first $1,600, and this was like just a year and a half ago. So January of 2018, right? January of 2018, she had a big show. She spoke. She had been creating her collection. She had been selling individual pieces. But that day, you made the most amount of money ever.
Yeah.
And talk about that day, and then what actually happened as an entrepreneur.
One of my biggest failures, or not failure, one of my biggest learning
moments. Okay, let's do that.
Is that okay if I talk a little bit about this? How many questions do we have left?
No, it's cool. We go for about an hour, about 60 minutes. We got about another 15, 20 minutes. So
because I don't want you cut or
no, that's good.
And so I remember after making that money, I was walking around with my rupees, which was like $100. 100 rupiah was like $7, and I was walking around with this pile and just like waving it in my face and just like, oh my god, I made so much money! Like, oh my god, this is awesome! And I remember my mom sat me down and she sat next to me like this, and she just like grabs my money on my hands. I'm like, wait, what are you doing?
Because you made $1,600 that year, right?
Yeah. You grabbed the money out of my hands and gave me back like $300 or like $600.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, where's my other 1,000? What's going on? And my mom's like, started to count the money without saying anything. Just went, this is to salary, this is to fabric, this is to making it, this is to your time, and this is what you earned. And then having my $600 in my hand, I'm like, wait. She grabs that again and she says, this goes to your future, this goes to you, and this goes to this school uniforms. And me still like, what just happened? Not knowing what's going on. And my money that I made, the $600, will now split up into 3, because what we do is whenever we sell an item, we split it up into 3. So if we have a 50-50 profit margin, and what goes on is that other 50% gets split up into 3 categories, which is spending, saving, and giving. So with that $600 split up into 3 groups, we got $200 for each, which means that I could give about 20 school uniforms, which was incredible just from what I made, because a school uniform takes $10. Then I had $200 to go to my future for investing in either businesses or my own business, and then that other $200 so I can buy Frodo that night. And,
her own personal spending.
Yes.
Because now she's getting also into cryptocurrency. Now Hanalei is becoming like one of the taking crypto transactions, right, for her clothing line. So it's like all these great things. But that was a big deal. So you learned about, what was the day? I said, let's talk about margins. Like now you can understand like profit margins, loss margins, and that's kind of like the way that you've learned in business, isn't it? And you're learning it by doing it on a consistent basis. So that's kind of how our philosophy has been. You know, is like letting her learn it as we grow, and having your studios allowed you to learn into that moment. So spending, saving, and giving, right? And okay, so now based on like, let's talk about your business, like every day, like what goes on at your studio. Like let's talk about, you know, you've got how many employees?
I got 6 employees.
Talk about what the studio environment is about, so everyone understands it. It's the guys, all of that.
So the studio is a place of creation. Whenever we go there, one of my main things is I want to be able to make the dudes, and we call them the dudes who work for us. The dudes, they create all the clothing. We have incredible pattern makers, incredible tailors, and all these different types of people.
And they've come from where? Talk about that, because that's important for people to understand. Yeah.
They came from Java, and they came from different places in Indonesia. And so these people coming all together, I want the studio to be a place of creation. So we have different creatives. And one of my main missions and one of my main things that I want to start doing is lifting people up. I want to help. I love working with people more than I love working with myself. And so I want to be able to help make people, I want to be able to help creatives create their fashion.
Yeah.
Help them create something that they love. And what's going to be happening is we're going to be opening up a boutique that is going to be called HS Conscious, and we're going to have different designers in Bali who are using eco-friendly fabrics, who are using sustainable materials, and who have ethical workplaces. Mm-hmm. And so one of my main things is that when we were in the UK for London Fashion Week, I saw that people were bringing each other down, trying to make them the best, and trying to stand out when no one was helping each other. Mm. And so, sorry. And so I want to be able to help each other. I want to create my own way of business when we're not tearing each other down, when we're truly bringing each other up. Yeah, it's a really big one, right? And so her guys, they all come from Java, and we actually pay for their living. We pay for their food, they pay for their petrol, because part of, you know, the values of fashion, what Hanalei's learned is that mostly fast fashion, I mean, they treat their workers like machines. Yeah. Right? And some of the research that she's done and found that, they only are paid like 1% of the billions of dollars that are actually made. Their payment, the ones that actually physically make it, are paid less than 1%, and they're outsourcing. So what do? We keep everyone in-house, you know, work. Yeah. We have an amazing studio where we all work in-house. We all have this place where they're able to listen to their music, where they're able to create what they love. And so, like, in fast fashion, they have these incredibly large buildings that are not cared for, that have cracks, and thousands upon thousands of people die every single year just because people aren't monitoring
The safety,
not
monitoring.
checking the safety in the buildings.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to treat my workers like machines. I want to make them be treated like humans. We should all be granted that human right of getting an okay working wage, to be getting a living wage, actually, not, let me rephrase that, a living wage, because these companies only pay their workers almost 1%, less than 1% of the billions of dollars they make. And so we pay for their petrol, we pay for their food, we pay for their families, and we pay for their salaries. And so we want to treat them like humans, not like machines.
Yeah, and it's really vitally important, isn't it? And that's also why our prices are higher, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and the reason why is because we're paying for their safety, we're paying for their salaries, we're paying for their happiness and their place where they work. And so it's not made by people who were forced into getting these jobs.
They love it. And they work with you.
It was made by happy people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not really sure where to go with it. The lights are so bright right now, so it's shining in my eyes.
So please, if you have any more questions, please ask your questions. But there's a couple more, because a lot of people have been asking us, all these lessons that she's learned, like, my goodness, how do we tap more deeply into this? And we finally have been deeply working on this, and I'm going to share with you guys in just a minute what we have been working on. It's really, really cool. But do you have any rituals, Hanalei, that you do each and every day?
As much as I can, I try to go to the studio where I work with the dudes every morning, and I create amazing pieces like this, either giving them different sizes.
Yeah, what is this inspiration? What is your inspiration, by the way? This is a big question that comes in. What are your inspirations for your collections? Because you've now got completely 2 full collections finished, lookbooks designed. What has been the inspiration
to
your collections?
Continue that question, or do the inspirations?
Let's do the first question and then the second question.
Okay.
That was a loaded question.
I just wanted to make sure.
How beautiful these are.
But every day I go to the studio and I work with the dudes. I create with the dudes, and usually I have one meeting a day where I talk with people about my fashion. We have people who are creating custom designs, and after that I mainly come back and I start working with schoolwork, and I start learning, and either like at the studio I'll measure and stuff like that. And after that I usually start creating, where I take lessons on learning how to draw, learning how to expand my creativity. And every week I meet with my art teacher, my school teacher, and 3 times a week I'm working with her, expanding my artistic creativity, expanding my knowledge, all of that type of stuff. And so where I mainly get my inspiration for a lot of my items is from the places I've traveled, from around the world. I can't tell you the main companies that I get inspired by, because really when I see pieces that people are wearing, I always think, how can I make this better? How can I make this in my own way? If I see a jacket I love, I'm like, oh, how would that look with the cut, with the slit in the back, or with mesh shoulders? I always try making something different out of something that's already been done. And I feel like that's what creativity in fashion is. It's like stealing like an artist. Don't steal and do the same thing. Make it in your own way. Because we can't make something new every single time, because so many things have been done.
Yeah, that's right. So you just keep making it better. I love that's a Picasso statement, right? Good artists steal, great artists make it better, right? And which is such a big statement. What about books? How many books have you read?
I can't tell you that, because I don't really know. I've read so many.
Probably hundreds. Yeah, probably hundreds. Do you have any favorite books that you want to recommend for kids or others?
One of my favorite books was, I forgot the name exactly. It was the story
Celestine Prophecies.
Celestine Prophecies. That's one of my favorite books. It took me a while to finish because I had to like take it all in, and I'm still figuring out how can I incorporate it and stuff like that. But definitely an author I would recommend is Wayne Dyer. He's one of my favorite authors, and he actually inspired me to create my book I have here, Unstoppable Kids, inspired by his book, my book, How to Be and Raise an Unstoppable Kid, and his book, Be Unstoppable. And so I've read that book so many times.
Let's talk about this book.
Yeah,
like this is something that with this illustrations were.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to finish saying my book recommendations, or do you want me just to start talking about it?
See, this is real. This is real. Tween talk between the mom because I interrupted her.
Not really. Just I'm going off so many times. I just want to know exactly what I'm supposed to talk about.
Yeah. It's a real show. Real family stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about inspiration, but like this is a killer book, you know, like you got inspired by Wayne Dyer. Did you have any more books that you did want to share those?
Yeah, mainly Wayne Dyer, and I have some books that I'm just about to start reading. It's Siddhartha. I'm super excited to read that one. Actually, in my history lessons in my schooling program, we talked a little bit about Siddhartha, which was pretty cool. But I'm really excited to see the philosophies and see how he. Yeah, I'm just excited. So something that my mom has been recommending is Siddhartha, and I cannot wait to
start. It's a cool story. It's really good for kids to listen to, and she listens to a lot of books, right? And you love Harry Potter.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
I have my Harry Potter book next to me right now, and I'm about to read that right after. But yeah, let's talk a little bit.
Let's talk about this book because this is cool.
Yeah. So Unstoppable Kids, it was illustrated all by me, and our designer was able to digify it and make it all digital. Yeah, shout out to Jez, he's the best. And so all these different pieces, it talks about life lessons, and mainly the first start is finding your passion and finding your happiness, and what does it mean to be an unstoppable kid? Talking about different scenarios in life, and being mindful versus being mindful. But then in the back, it starts to get into business stuff. Pitching to your clients, being able to start cost, being able to learn all these type of stuff to be able to do what you love every single day. You have to be able to like create. And
but inside, let's talk about this deeper. Like there's a lot of philosophies of things that you've learned. Like there's exercises, and where this book has come from, because a lot of people have asked about it, and it's going to be we're making it available now. We're actually getting ready to launch. In fact, if you want to get a copy, we're doing this today. You can get a special copy of this book because we've got some negotiations right now with Mind Valley, with I Trust You movement. Hanalei is launching it through there, publishing through Hay House. So there's a lot of really neat things that are going on. But some in here, what was some of the main ones? We were doing this program during our events, or you have your Unstoppable Kids events or mine events.
Whenever my mom would host her events, the parents would always bring their kids, and I would host my mini event and her own event. And so we would start talking about these type of things, like finding your passion, stuff that I've learned and stuff that I have grown up with and learned about. And so by being able to inspire kids and teach them, like, finding your passion, me setting an example for kids my age to show that they can actually do something incredible. And some of the main things is you get what you give. Being mindful versus being mindful, and all these different things. Having that voice in your head.
Where's the happy? Here it is. This one. The Happy Bucket. She was little. We did this Happy Bucket challenge. You were like 6, and it was about spreading happiness, right? And seeing. And this is like one of the lessons in here. And this is something you did in our events with these other kids that were coming. And it was like you could see the way the kids, their minds started opening, just the way that you give happiness to others and see how it feels.
Yeah.
And these are things that you've been learning since you were very young, right?
Yeah.
And so you've created this as a workbook.
It's like a little tutorial on a little bit inside my life and how you guys can learn a little bit about your passion, learn a little bit about business, and inspiring kids to create and do something different, because we all have the power inside of us to create something incredible.
Yeah, it's really, really fun and cool. So, yes, people are asking, is the book available? Yes. Okay. And look at this. Is so fun. It's illustrated. Jez and his team actually took, that's me. And then there's Hanalei in there. Like, it's really funny. Amazing. And we're going to continue to do some upgrades in the book. We have a contract in here, and social media contract with families, because it's always a big question about social media. So this is the thing. We are doing something really special right now, because the Unstoppable Family, we have been putting together our Unstoppable Family's conscious guide to conscious parent, or guide to conscious parenting, and then the how to be and raise an unstoppable kid. And we've actually put together a program. We've been holding it for quite some time, but it's really ready to come out, and we're pre-screening it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got a complete conscious parenting course that has like 8-10 different video modules. There's different books inside of it. Hanalei hosts a lot of it. Brian and I host several of the videos along with the book. So you get the digital book that's downloadable, and an access to get the physical side of the book. Now, we're only doing this right now to the beginning, because we're getting ready to launch it really big with some big other collaborations. So because people have asked so much, we want to give you guys access to it, to get this version, to get right now what's inside of the current conscious parenting program. And what we'll do is it on Swan Links? So we have a link called Swan Links, Links, that you can go to, and you can actually order it. You can immediately get the digital book now, and you can get access to the video course as well. Like I mentioned, this version of the book is actually going to be being published, and we're launching it with a really big company. But because we've been asked so often, like, when can we get it? When can we get it? Because only people that have gotten this have been in our events. Yeah. Like, no one's ever actually gotten the physical copy of this book. Yeah. And so it's getting ready to be launched to the world. And because, of course, you know our family, you've been watching us, we want to be able to give you guys access to it as well, so you can get access.
So we're super excited to release it. We are so happy that you guys are excited as well, and we cannot wait to see what you guys think. Also, after you get the books, please share us photos of you guys working through it. And we have so many incredible ideas for what we can bring with the Unstoppable Kids, and we're excited that you guys are excited. And I think this is an amazing way to end out the live. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say also thank you for bringing me on. And also, if there's anything else that you wanted to touch on before we jump off, what would you think? Yeah,
if there's any last final questions you guys have, thanks for watching. Of course, if you're watching this in the live stream, thank you for always being here live. We do this every Wednesday. And if you're listening to the podcast, you'll also get the show notes and the blog posts, so you can get all of the transcripts and ways to find all of this content. But it's really incredible. Hanalei's got her studio. And what is your tagline of your company? Because I love this. It's really cool.
What you wear can change the world.
Yeah, and it's your newest campaign.
Wear Slow. It's a campaign about inspiring people to think about what they wear, think about what they can do, and showing that fashion is going to change the world for the better.
And Wear Slow is slow fashion, and using what type of materials?
Eco-friendly materials that are sustainable, like bamboo, which takes 0% water to create. Yes, amazing bamboo. And I'm wearing some Key Silk right now, and some Stretch Modal, which takes 50% less water than organic cotton. And if you don't know, organic cotton takes 750 gallons of water. So, yeah. And I think that's awesome. Is there any other questions?
I think any more questions, guys? Thank you so much for being here. Really, again, it means so much, not only to our family, but also to the world. And I think, Hanalei has been being invited to speak all over the world as an activist, and at the New Earth Festival she just recently spoke at. And, really just, we want to help sharing this message. How can we get more kids inspired, more families being conscious about how they raise their kid? And that's why this newest version of conscious parenting and this new guide that's coming out, we want to get you guys access to it now. We want your feedback. We're creating a lot of really amazing new things and ways that education can be shared with families and kids in a different way, right? The way that they learn can be different. And we just thank you so much always for your support.
Thank
and,
you.
Yeah.
And thank you for the love. If you want to share this video, to share it to more people, give it a like. I love the hearts that people are giving right now.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just want to say thank you guys so much. And don't forget to
be unstoppable. Or I always have to leave everyone with my show, though. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. If you're going to be anything, be unstoppable. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
And definitely love, like, share, and subscribe to our podcast, the Unstoppable Families Podcast. And we'll see you on the other side. Cheers, everyone.